Welcome to the episode number 11 of my knitting podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stitch and Thread, the channel where we're talking all about knitting. And sometimes I like to share about embroidery as well. For those who are new here, my name is Anna. I'm a knitter based in the UK. And today I would like to share with you the projects I have been working on recently. So this is a sort of traditional knitting podcast where I would be going over my finished projects, the projects which I'm currently working on, and some plans and acquisitions in the end. Additionally, I would like to rumble a little bit about the sock knitting and drama associated with it. So if that sounds like a cup of tea, grab your yarn, needles, and let's get going. I would like to start with the first and the only finished project for this knitting podcast, and it is a Retrosaria Junior Cardigan by Löthgren. I hope I pronounce it at least half decent. If not, please let me know. This is a lovely cardigan. Let me just open it up for you. This is a lovely cardigan in navy sort of color. I'm sorry if it looks a bit wrinkled because it was finished. It's for my daughter, and she just likes to chuck things in as they are. So when I just try and grab something, it doesn't look its best. In any case, I believe last time I shared with you this project, I needed just half of the body and one sleeve. So as you can see, I believe that was my main focus for the last month. I really wanted to get it done for the Unravel yarn festival, which is the closest yarn festival to me. I was really hoping to finish the whole thing so I can take it to the festival and find some buttons to attach. So yeah, I was knitting really rigorously to make sure I'm done for the festival. And then I was really hoping to see, last time at the festival there was a stand where they were just selling buttons. Unfortunately, it turned out this time that the vendor wasn't there, and just a couple of vendors with yarns. They were selling a bit of kind of buttons on the side. So it took me some time to find, but these are the buttons I can see. Can show you closer. It's kind of lovely white buttons with a bit of kind of silverish, silver around. I believe I bought them from Along avec Anna. They're lovely, but unfortunately, as you can see, the cardigan is quite long, and I needed 12 buttons to sew in. There's actually the second cardigan where I need to attach buttons, and every time I'm not sure exactly how to place them, where to place them, and both patterns are quite vague in telling me what to do. But it looks like I did a decent job at least. So I'm quite pleased, and the recipient, my daughter, she's pleased as well. You can probably see I knitted this reasonably long for her. I will try to attach a footage or at least a photo how it looks on her. It is longer than the pattern suggested, actually, but this is how my daughter wanted it, so I just fulfilled her wishes, and she really likes it. I have knitted her another cardigan which is actually kind of shorter, and it's perfect for any dresses she has. So this is actually a different one, and yeah, I think it suits her very well. I'm quite pleased. This is done in garter stitch. Probably not my preferred kind of texture, but again, she chose it and she's quite happy. I believe I talked about this pattern already before, and just to quickly reiterate, pattern is really well written. I learned quite a few new techniques and ways to do things, so I thought it was a very nicely written pattern. It has also some video tutorials if you're a newbie as well, how to do kitchen stitch. Especially I really like, let me just show you if I can. It had a lovely video how to join your I-cord edge at the bottom, so it looks exactly the same. And if I can show you, yeah, look, personally it's only on one side where I had to kind of join the I-cord, and I did try to look myself, and I couldn't find the edge bit. So Obviously, I did a very good job, but I believe I had a very good video tutorial, which I followed to the T. So very pleased with this item, and most importantly, my daughter is also very pleased. Interestingly enough, I still have one more ball of yarn, so I can actually show you right here. So I knitted this cardigan in Lana Gatto Merinocot. It is a combination of wool and cotton, so I think it would be perfect for kind of spring, autumn period, so transitional periods. And I really like that how this navy color has some kind of spackles of different colors, so the color is actually not very flat, it's quite deep, and I think it also works very well for this cardigan. And the last thing to mention is that even though I received these buttons from the festival, I think it's still for a couple of weeks this cardigan was just lying there because I couldn't bring myself to attach the buttons, unfortunately. I don't know if it's just with me, but sometimes I feel like knitting takes less time than sometimes some things that you're not particularly keen on to do, and then you kind of procrastinate until you find that will to finally push through to see this project going. Now with the cardigan out of the way, I felt I could finally concentrate on a project that is very dear to me, and it is a Polina Pullover by Teti Lutsak. I'm making this in the Rerum Natura Ulysse in colors Poivre, blanc and caramel. Since last time talking, I don't think I did great progress. I think I was somewhere around here. I finished the motif since then. I have also split for sleeve. I also did a mid-project block because I felt that here towards the end of this motif you have quite long floats to catch, and I feel in a couple of areas, like somewhere in between here, I didn't really do a very good job. And I think it's not just that you have the long areas where you just use one yarn. I think it's actually me trying to catch floats because there's so many stitches in between is what caused the problem. I don't know, I'm actually pondering if catching the floats is a must, or maybe you could be okay even without it. In any case, I feel I need to continue working on my color work skills, and for now I think it works reasonably well. And speaking actually of this Polina Pullover, at the same Unravel festival, I saw a lady wearing this very sweater. I had to come to her and say, yeah, I'm making it. I didn't have a chance to finish, but I'm doing the same one. I hope I didn't startle that lady. She thought that's a weirdo. Anyway, after mid-project block, I was doing these dotted lines. For whatever reason, my brain probably wasn't there. It took me like 3 attempts to do it correctly. I don't know, but it's out of the way, and now concentrate on, I believe, the last color work motif here, and just knit. One modification I did in the meantime is that I added a few rows before and after this dotted line. It is not in the pattern, but I felt I needed a bit more, I guess, height where my armhole is. I felt it was a little bit tighter, just too close to my armpit, so I decided to add a few rows, and obviously after I split for sleeves I added kind of the same amount of rows just to make it symmetrical, I guess. So yeah, that's it. That's going to be my main focus as we going forward, because I'm really excited to work on this project. It's just really dear to my heart, and I really like it, and I would like to finish it before winter finishes, and I won't be able to wear it till next year. The next project I'm working on is Sonya Shirt by Susanne Müller, and here it is. If you saw my previous podcast, you might be thinking that it doesn't look very different from the previous time I showed it to you. However, that's not the case. I've picked up stitches for the neckline, and I feel like I did the hardest parts actually in the last months. So I picked up all the stitches. I did a ribbon for the neckline with Italian cast off, with Italian bind off, So it's all done. It took a while, as you can imagine, provided I used 2.5mm needles for that, as well as for the sleeves. So I did the same for the sleeves, ribbing and Italian bind off. One thing to mention is that my ribbing for the neckline, it is not as long as the pattern suggests, simply because I wasn't sure I would be able to put the top over my head, because my gauge is so off here, and I think that was a good call. I tried it on and it's okay, but I think if I would need like another centimeter of the neckline ribbing, I might be in trouble. So it was a good call. I feel like sometimes it is really helpful to do some small chunks, like to say, oh, this week I will just finish like a ribbing on one sleeve, and this week I will just do the neckline, and another week again my task is to do another kind of set of ribbing. Because in the end, what I have now, I have a top which is good to go. All I need to do now is to pick up some stitches for the body again, and just again knit, knit, knit. And I feel, in comparison how I feel before, I feel really, really positive about this top now. I mean, we will see. So far, I think it works better than I expected. So I'm really happy to continue. And just to reiterate, if you haven't been here before, I'm using for this top Bio Balance Goats by Sadness Garn. It is a recommended yarn for this top, but I kind of had lots of issues. I didn't like how see-through my fabric was, so I had to go down the needle size, even though I'm reasonably tight knitter. So yeah, it is a bit of a mystery what's gonna turn out with this top. Okay, now let's kind of ramble a little bit about sock knitting. In 2025, I really want to up my sock knitting game, as well as I would like to try to use a natural yarn for knitting socks. So with these thoughts in mind, I purchased Rhubarb and Custard sock pattern by Zanete Knits, as well as some Mondim by Rosa Pomar. It is 100% Portuguese wool, so actually I have a ball to show you. It is quite nice, it's plump, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 ply, but it is a really nice yarn, at least the way you knit with it. And I started knitting those socks a couple of months ago, I believe now, and you see, I really like, so when you look at these, I actually really like the color combination, I really like the pattern, and yes, it took me some time to knit these, and I felt that I'm quite slow, but still, I noticed that I'm just not enjoying it. I just kind of procrastinated on these socks for a while, and at some point I thought, this is weird, so let's find out what's the problem. And okay, I was thinking maybe because it's a new way, because it's like from toe up to the calf. I was like, I don't feel like it's a problem. I actually wanted to learn new skills. I was thinking, okay, if not this, maybe something else. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I don't want to knit socks, you know, like finger and weight socks. No, doesn't seem to be the case. And then I realized, even though I do like color work, it seems that I don't really like to do color work using DPNs on a small circumference. And yeah, so it turned out that the reason I do not enjoy knitting the sock is just because of the color work. I was like, okay, so what should I do? So in the end of the day, I decided to give up on this. So this will be unfortunately fruct, and I just kind of wanted to share this to those out there who might be struggling through some project, and they just no longer feel excited about it. And I feel it's okay sometimes when projects do not work out, or sometimes when you realize it's just you like color work like me, but maybe, you know, knitting a sweater and color work and knitting a small sock is not the same. I'm still thinking that maybe just for the sake of new techniques, I would do the pattern just in one color, just to see how it works, because I've never done a toe-up sock anyway, and I believe there are some Japanese short shorts. I've never done those, but for now I decided to let go of this project and just kind of move on to something else. But that wasn't it. Once I gave up on that project, I thought, okay, I would still want to make a pair of socks for myself using natural yarn. I purchased a few months ago this lovely Black Yarns Bamboozle yarn. It's like natural, I believe, color. It is worsted spun 4-ply pure new wool, they say. So it's pure new wool with addition of bamboo to give some strength to it. So I cast it on Lakolk, I believe. I'll put the name of the pattern here. I cast it on the sock, I think using 2.5mm needle, something that I had. And, you know, it just felt, this yarn turned out to be quite thin, even though it's the same 200 meters per 50 grams, quite standard, I feel. It just felt very gappy. I don't know if I can show you how thin, I mean, I'm not sure if it will show how thin the yarn is, but it is, just believe me. And I thought, okay, it doesn't quite work, it's too gapey, I don't like it. And I thought, okay, I have 2mm needles as well. And I tried those, but I feel 2mm seemed to be too much. I felt physically that my hands hurt. And okay, the actual pattern, I believe, suggested 2.25, so 225mm needles, which I at the time didn't own. So I was like, okay, I want to do a lot more sock knitting this year, so I would purchase 225, which is kind of standard sock knitting needles. So I purchased those, waited for them to come, and again I casted on the socks using those needles, and it was okay. I still felt it was gapier than I would want to be, but I wouldn't be going down the needle size. So I continued on. I think at some point I wanted to try on, because I did not do swatches for socks, and you know, I think I did around 7-8 centimeters of the pattern already, when I realized suddenly that where my ribbon was, there's kind of like, there's breakage of the yarn. I don't know how it happened. Maybe the way I tried on, somehow I pulled the yarn. I'm still not sure how it would happen, but in any case, I realized, okay, a bummer. At first I wanted to try to kind of get all the stitches and just remove the top bit and do ribbon in a different yarn. However, it proved to be quite difficult, and I struggled with that. I think it's also, this yarn is quite grippy. It just didn't work. So I thought, you know, okay, I would lose a couple of hours, but let me just try again doing ribbing using different yarn. So that's what I did. I used different yarn, and then I tried to join again, and I realized that in comparison, this one is again way too thin, even though the same meterage, say similar composition. The other yarn is also kind of has, instead of 20% bamboo like it's here, 50% silk. But again, it just seemed to be such a striking difference. Maybe the way it was spun, again, I don't know. So in any case, once I was done with the ribbing and I tried to join this yarn, I realized it's just it's not gonna work. So I went back to my good old Mondim by Rosa Pomar and created a sock. Let me just show you. And this is a sock. So as you can see, this darker yarn is Eden Cottage Melbourne 4-ply, mix of wool and 50% silk. So I use it for the calf, for the toes, as well as for my heel. This sock was blocked, so it looks actually quite nice. The second sock I'm currently making, and yeah, it's really interesting to see the difference the blocking actually makes. But at least I have one, and hopefully soon 2 wearable socks. Still, I'm quite baffled at how difficult sometimes it is to knit socks, how difficult it is to find some sock yarn, especially if you want some natural sock yarn to try. Again, nothing against nylon, apart from the fact that I noticed I can easily get through socks with nylon as well. So I thought, if I anyway wearing my socks out at that speed, I might as well try just some hardier wool. While we talked about the socks knitting, I would like now to specifically talk about the pattern. This is my first time knitting socks from a book rather than an individual pattern, and the striking difference for me was that how compact the pattern is in a book, which is, I guess, fine. At least it's fine if it's not your first knitted sock, and that's kind of a recommendation. I feel if it's your first ever sock, you probably would be better off with the individual knitted pattern by a designer who can provide you with a bit more guidance. The book is from Lane Publishing. It's 52 weeks of knitting socks, the second volume. I really liked a lot of patterns from there. So while I'm really happy with purchasing the book, I also went to the website and printed all the erratas currently available because obviously things happen. There was nothing in errata for this specific pattern, but I was knitting size 1, and at some point there was kind of a mention that size 2 and 3 do this, while it kind of suggests that for size 1, which I was knitting, you just have to ignore the row. But the thing is, you can't ignore the row because at that time it was like knitting flat. You have purl row and knit row. So I'm like, okay. So because I've knitted obviously socks before, I realized what the designer kind of had in mind. But still, I mean, it might not be fully a mistake, but it's most definitely in a bit of inconsistency, because I believe we should set size 1 like do that, while size 2, 3 just do slightly different thing. Because normally if your size isn't included, you just kind of assume you'll go to the next paragraph. But my next paragraph would be again knit after I already had a knit row. So anyway, I will put the notes for the projects on Ravelry, and there is a link in the description in case you would want to knit this very socks and you want to knit size 1, just to let you know there is a bit of discrepancy there, just so you know. And the last project I would like to share with you today is Stella Quilt Cushion by Laura Penrose. I have finally started knitting this pattern. I'm really excited, and just to show you, it's not a lot, I know, but isn't it cute? Started knitting, I think it should be, let me see, I should be this way around. This pattern is quite tricky in a way. You have to get your hand around all the different methods you have to do. Obviously, you do not swatch, but your first square is your actual swatch, which is really cute. So I needed my first square, I blocked it, and actually had to redo it. For my yarn, I think she would like you to go up the needle size, but I decided not to, because for cushion I really would prefer the fabric to be quite dense. So there was a bit of math to do, which is fine. Hopefully it will continue to be fine, but considering I was able to do the second square, I think with time this pattern will make more sense to me, because there were a couple of times when I was like, oh my god, what am I doing here? But it seemed to be starting to make sense. So I'm really excited, and yeah, it's really cute. Can't wait to actually continue knitting it. And just so you know, if you would like to know the time it takes, it seems to be that one square would take you just, or takes me at least, just over an hour to make. So right now I'm thinking, okay, today I will do just one square. It's kind of interesting. I really feel like last month I really like this kind of bite-sized pieces, like you feel like you accomplished something, even though it was like 1 hour of knitting. I'm using a special yarn. I'm using Falkland Islands wool for this, which I purchased a couple of months ago. I think it's kind of denser than a merino, and I think it's actually quite perfect for this project. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, now we are slowly moving into my plans and acquisitions. I've already mentioned I purchased this lovely book, The 52 Weeks of Socks, Volume 2, and you probably can see this is my errata sticking out, so all the mistakes that went past, so I have them all in one place. I really like this book. Obviously it is hardback, and I'm very happy. And here in my armpit I'm holding something that actually this book and this yarn came together. I bought it in the shop called the Fiber Fox. It's the hand dyer, and this lovely kind of mini set is from the Fiber Fox. If all goes well, this in the future will be a part of my Stella quilt blanket. So I would like to figure out how kind of everything works by making a cushion. And then if everything is clear, I feel I'm reasonably comfortable with knitting, I think the next would be a Stella quilt blanket. And currently I'm kind of slowly acquiring some yarn for that blanket, because you need different colors. And yeah, so it's my first colorway, kind of greeny, moss sort of green. I really like them. Yeah, it's my color, that's for sure. And one more purchase happened during the Unravel festival. I personally went to the festival with the idea to purchase some sock yarn, but like natural, non-superwash, non-nylon. There was supposed to be one vendor selling like a blend of linen and wool for sock. Unfortunately, she didn't bring it, but it's on her website, so I probably will purchase at a later date. A couple of other vendors also didn't have that, so at the end of the day, it was a really cool experience, and I almost thought maybe I won't buy a lot. But then I found the booth, the Kami booth, and now you'll see what I got. First of all, I got this. You can see that spring is kind of underway. It speaks to me. So this is apparently 100% a Bluefest Leicester DK weight. So it's possibly going to become a hat. At least that's how I look at it. I think this color really speaks to me. Possibly I would hold it with mohair to create even more warmth. I like my hats to be warm. I'm always cold, so I really love it. The second yarn I purchased there is this. I mean, look at this. That screams summer and spring to me. Beautiful. So this is actually different. This is Healing Symphony is the name of colorway, and it is 100% organic fine merino, non-superwash. So it's a finger weight yarn. So I found the Kami booth, and that was it. And then in the end, I found a lovely lady from Black Isle Yarns. She had this lovely sock. I was joking about it. She had a sock, and it says on it that it was worn for 40 days from this specific yarn, and she was selling some minis as well, I think the full skeins of it, and it was a mixture of BFL and mohair, 80% of Bluefest Luster and 20% of mohair. And I've heard before that mohair is quite sturdy. It could really help for the sock, I guess, to stay in place and kind of make it quite strong. So I really wanted to try, and I purchased these kind of lovely skeins from that lady. It's really interesting. She lives all the way in Scotland. She came all the way to south, like east here of the UK. So I'm really grateful. Had a really lovely conversation with her, and we'll see how this will knit out. But yes, I haven't seen this plant before from anyone else, so there is a high chance I will be back. That's it. That's all I wanted to talk to you today. Thank you so much for staying with me and keeping me company. If you have any questions or any suggestions in regards to patterns I discussed, feel free to drop me a line in the comments below. It's always fun to read them and to have some discussions with you. Also, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and follow me on Instagram if you're there as well. And see you next time.